Hi everyone, Leah here from EurekaCrystalBeads.com with another fun beading video for you. Before I get started, just a quick reminder to go check out the rest of our channel, and if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and notification bell, and you'll always know when we're posting new content. So what we're going to be doing today is making my Beachy Boho earrings, and what makes them so special is that we're going to be using these really beautiful, organic, unique mother of pearl chandelier findings. And as you can see, they have such a lovely natural shimmer to them. And one thing I also want to note is that each one is just a little bit different. As you can see, they have slightly different markings on them, but what you will find is that they all look beautifully harmonious together. And I like the fact that they're each just a little bit different because it adds to that beautiful organic nature that I think these Beachy Boho earrings are going to have. Now, to contrast this beautiful natural look, we're going to be also using some really fun, edgy, modern-looking Swarovski crystal bicones. These are 6mm, and these are in white opal shimmer. And I think the color that, or the colors I should say, that the shimmer finish reflects on these white opal bicones is going to fit in beautifully with the natural colors that we see in the shimmer of these natural mother of pearl chandelier pieces. And the other pieces we're going to be using are, of course, some ear wires. And then we're also going to be using very clean and modern and simple ball and head pins. These are 1.5 inch long and gold plated. As far as the tools we're going to be using, our typical wire working 3, I like to call them. We have our round nose pliers. And if you're not familiar with round nose pliers, they're like 2 ice cream cones. There's no flat edges on either side of the pliers, and this is what we're going to use to making round shapes. Next, we have our side cutters here. This will be for cutting any of the wire off of the head pins that we need to. And then now we have our chain nose pliers. And what's important to note is that with chain nose pliers, they are smooth inside and they taper to a point. This is what differentiates them from flat nose pliers, which come to a square end. But these taper to a point, and I love these because they're a lot easier to get into small little places. So very nice, very clean, basic, simple set of materials that we're going to be using here. So let's get started. Okay, so the basic technique that we're going to be using to put all of our components together is that of rolling a loop. Now, because these head pins are a little bit of a thicker gauge, these are 22 gauge head pins, we can get away with that. If I was using head pins that were a bit thinner, say a 24 or a 26 gauge head pin, I would probably want to make sure my loop is wrapped shut. And we do have plenty of videos on our YouTube channel that would explain how to do that. But if you're going to be using a head pin that's a little bit of a thicker gauge, then rolling a loop is going to be just fine here. And that's what makes this such a great beginner project. So we're going to start by sliding one of our bicones onto our ball and head pins. And by the way, I do just love the finished look of a ball and head pin. Really is my favorite kind. Now, we want to have a 90-degree bend coming out from the top of that crystal. So we're going to use our chain nose pliers to do that. But there's a little trick to getting that done a little easier. You might think that holding the wire right above that crystal is going to get us that nice bend right there from the top of the crystal. But if you're holding your pliers so close to that crystal that it's touching the crystal and your crystal can't wiggle up and down at all, you actually risk cracking that crystal if you go to make your bend now. So a good way to avoid that is to move your pliers up just a hair. Just enough so your crystal, as you can see, can move up and down just a little bit. Now, when you go to turn that 90-degree bend, there we go, you're not going to risk cracking the top of that crystal. So next, we have to trim some of this wire off. And what I want to make sure that you understand is it's less important to focus on what you're trimming off, and it's more important to focus on what you're leaving behind, because that is what you're going to have to work with. So you're going to take your side cutter here, and you're going to want to cut off enough wire to create our loop. Now, the other thing you need to take into account is where your loop's going to be going. So if you look at this finding, you need to make sure that your loop is big enough that this distance could fit inside the loop. So depending on what you're using as an earring finding, whether it's a mother of pearl earring finding like this, whether it's any kind of chandelier finding, that's something that you want to take into account. So I know that I'm going to want to make my loops a little bit on the bigger side, since that hole just goes a little further in to that mother of pearl finding. And also, when in doubt, you can always cut off more. So if you're not sure, cut off less than you think, because you can always trim it off more if you want it shorter. I'm going to go about a little less than half. I'm going to cut off a little bit more than half, but I'm going to leave a little bit less than half there. Just like that. If you have a nice new cutter, you're going to want to make sure that you either hold that tail or cup your hand over it, and that'll keep it from flying across to the other side of the room or into your own eye, which would not be a good thing. So what we have here now is a little tail of wire coming out at approximately a 90-degree bend from your crystal. Next, we're going to be moving to our round nose pliers. And where we hold the wire on our round nose pliers determines how big our loop is going to be. Now, if we held it down at the tip, it's going to be a teeny tiny loop, which means your little loop is only going to get about this far into your tail of wire. So we want to hold a little bit further in. This may differ depending on the round nose pliers that you have. Some are more petite than others. I'm going to grab probably about here, and you can always adjust it a little bit as you go. And the easiest thing to do is to turn it and look right at it as you form your loop. And that's what's going to give you a good idea if you're making the right size loop. And you'll notice I roll it forward and then I rock it back. And right now I can tell that if I keep going, my loop is going to come up short and it's going to stop too early. So I'm going to open it back up a little bit, bring it a little further down the pliers, and then re-roll. There we go. This is what we want. We want a loop that is nicely closed right at the top of that crystal. Now, as you can see, there's a little tiny gap there. That's okay. We're actually going to be swiveling this loop open to then feed it onto the little chandelier finding. So now what you're going to do is go back to your chain nose. You're going to grab the loop sort of close to the opening, and you're going to swivel it open. You always want to open loops by swiveling them open and never opening them up like this, because eventually the loop can get weak and break. So let's get our little dangle on here. You're going to go back to your chain nose pliers and swivel it shut. And I just think that shimmer on that white opal bicone just picks up on all of these colors really, really nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of my dangles on, and then I will be back in a minute to show you how to finish up. Okay, to finish up our earrings, now that we have all of our dangles on, we're going to go to our ear wires here, and we're going to swivel that loop open to the side, just like when we opened up the loops here after having formed them. And we're going to get our little chandelier piece right onto there. Now you're going to want to make sure that you take into account what both sides of the finding look like, because you might decide that you like the markings on one side versus the other, so you can pick which side that you want to face forward on your earring. We're just going to swivel that back shut, and we have our finished pair of earrings here. Now, I do want to mention that all of the beads and components that I've used in these earrings are included in our newest collection, which is called Beach Dunes. So if you're seeing this video up on our YouTube channel, then that means that our Beach Dunes collection has gone live and is available for purchase. It includes everything here plus more, so you'll get a bunch of really great projects out of it. And you can also view and purchase our previous collections as well that we put out every single month. All right, if you have any questions, please leave them in a comment below. Check us out at EurekaCrystalBeads.com, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.